Oh no, what do I do? Bleep, bleep, blue.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a gag. This space movie takes itself less seriously than the other ones do, and that's okay.
Hi, I'm Luke.
And I'm Becca, and we're talking about movies like we know stuff.
Hey friends, so we finally saw Project Hail Mary.
I feel like we're a little bit late on this one, but
really late on this one.
Yep.
But oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So much to say.
So much to say, so much to talk about. It'll be fun. It'll be a good one.
Well, I'm gonna let you give a quick synopsis first, and then we can get into some spoiler-free thoughts on whether or not we think it's worth a go. And then we'll give all the juicy spoilers later.
Yeah. So a spoiler-free synopsis of this movie is that the Earth is in trouble because the sun is slowly dying due to this amoeba-like life form that is sucking the life out of our sun. And so Ryan Gosling, who is a disgraced biologist, is selected to go onto a space mission to figure out what they can do to help save the sun so that the Earth doesn't freeze to death and people don't collapse into chaos. So this movie takes place on that mission, and there's all sorts of fun twists and turns that go along with it and some complexities that happen.
So fun.
Yes,
like
very
death.
fun. Yes, but we'll start with a spoiler-free version of our review, and then we'll give you guys plenty of warnings so that you guys can click away if you don't want to hear spoilers, if you're one of the few who haven't seen this movie yet. So, Becca, get us kicked off with some spoiler-free thoughts.
I really regret sleeping on this one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me why.
It's so funny because I kept thinking, when we see coming-of-age movies, you say, oh, this is such a Becca movie. It has all the tropes of a Becca movie. This had a lot of tropes of a Luke movie, which I think include lots of science and math, and the main character, who's not like other guys, he's like a cool scientist, and he finds a way to be self-sufficient and save the world, and there's moody atmospheric music, and I could see why, for you, this is probably going to score very high.
Maybe. I have some critiques that I have for the movie that maybe I didn't score it as high. I will agree that this movie is much more in my camp than it is in your camp, and I did enjoy the movie for sure. But there were some things that I can mention probably in spoilers that I wasn't so keen on the movie about.
Sure. No, that's kind of surprising. Yeah. I mean, I'll say overall, space movies aren't generally my thing, except for Star Wars and the Treasure Planet.
Yeah.
And the only other space movie I enjoy and I go back to rewatch is Interstellar.
What about The Martian?
I saw it once and it was fine.
Okay.
It was good, but I didn't really feel invested until the very end when Matt Damon grabs Jessica Chastain's hand and saves him. That's the only time I felt really invested. I thought it was kind of a slog.
Yeah.
And then there was a movie that I cannot remember the name of where Amy Adams makes contact with aliens.
Okay.
And it is so long and so slow that I'm just not going to give it my attention again.
No, that's fair.
But I wouldn't say this is as good as Interstellar, but it's something that I feel like I actually would rewatch, which for me is a compliment.
Yeah. To me, the visuals and the music carried this movie very hard. The music was fantastic. Beautiful cinematic scores. You actually were wondering if it was Hans Zimmer. I don't think it is.
It wasn't. It was, I can't remember his name. We'll put it up on the screen. But it's the composer for the first Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah, which says a lot about their resume for sure. And
very
the music
versatile.
was beautiful, had a lot of beautiful motifs, things that I was in the theater and I was like, does Spotify have the soundtrack on it?
Oh yeah, this is going on the movie playlist.
Yeah, for sure.
Our movie soundtrack playlist.
So many good tracks in this movie, such good emotional depth to the music, and then equally the visuals. This was definitely, I don't know who the director was, but whoever the director was, they definitely have an artistic eye. There's a lot of shots in this movie that have a picturesque look to them. There's lots of beautiful space images, and then just the angles and the camera depth and all that kind of stuff. They just make very cinematic shots. You have the classics where Ryan Gosling's on the outside of the spaceship and he's standing on the spaceship doing a spacewalk, and the planet is behind him, and it's just a beautiful picture of the planet, the spaceship in the foreground, and then Ryan Gosling's silhouette because it's so bright, basically. It's just a beautiful artistic shot. Or the opening shot, which again, I'm trying not to spoil it, but the opening shot has a very, very artistic style to it where you don't quite know what's going on. It's supposed to be disorienting, and then what's happening is slowly kind of revealed to you. And so this movie is beautiful in both the audio and visual departments, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't want to spoil anything, but there's one moment in particular where it won me over visually.
Yeah,
I thought, wow, this is a masterpiece.
Yeah, I'll be curious to hear
because
what
I will
that is.
say the movie starts out really slow.
Sure.
Really slow to the point that I'm like, is this another Martian?
Yeah.
Where I'm going to understand you're good, but I'm not going to enjoy the journey that much.
Yeah, the movie takes a long time to get going. I would say the first third to half of the movie is really slow.
But when it picks up, it really
It's
picks
better,
up.
for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And
I mean, I'll say I believe the book this is based on is by the same author who wrote The Martian.
yeah, okay.
And I will say I'd be much more interested in reading this book
Okay.
than The Martian. Because
See-
I hear that that's really like dry. It's
Okay.
really going into the details of just his survival. and,
Right.
like, learning how to like fertilize food, and it's
Sure.
just very like tactical, and that
Sure.
does not interest me.
See, I would put The Martian over this, and that's because that stuff does interest me. I think that style of survival is very intriguing, and how would somebody get away with that on Mars in a semi-realistic fashion? So, yeah. As far as the story goes, though, I think it's a well-written story. It's an enjoyable story. I had fun along the ride, and there were interesting moments. I will say that I didn't get as pulled in emotionally, again, without going into detail, I didn't get as pulled in emotionally by the story. I know there was definitely some moments where they tried to make them very sad moments, and they just didn't.
Nothing made me cry.
Yeah, it didn't make me tear up or anything.
But it did make me care.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, the movie had weight, but it didn't have the emotional punch that most movies like this do. So, that's my opinion. But overall, I think it's a good movie. Again, if you're not one of the few people who haven't seen this movie yet, I'd give it a thumbs up. I wouldn't say you necessarily have to watch it in theaters, but if you have the opportunity to go out and see a movie for free or something like that, by all means, go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that I liked it better than I thought I would. I'm not necessarily the target audience, but I am somebody who has seen a lot of like the famous space movies. I think Gravity's the only one I haven't seen because it just looks disgusting.
Yeah, space movies tend to stress me out. I will say this one stressed me out probably the least of the space movies. I tend to like hold my breath literally in the movie theater or in the movies when we're watching them. And this one didn't really have me doing that all that much.
I will say this one is a little more palatable for a mainstream audience.
For sure.
Where others, like Interstellar, to me feel a little more niche, and you have to have a little bit more patience for non-traditional storytelling.
Right.
And environments and world building rules of like planets that and places that we don't really understand because we haven't been to.
Sure, yeah.
And I think this is going to reach a wider audience.
Yeah, oh, for sure, yeah. It's definitely a more palatable movie for everyone.
Well, I don't think we can say anything else without big, juicy spoilers.
Yeah, so if you guys want to click away for avoiding spoilers, please do so now. But before you do, please remember to give us a like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you check out our other videos while you're around. We hope to see you guys around, and we enjoy having you, so we'll see you in a minute.
Okay, we're back.
We're back.
So-
Spoilers ahead.
Spoilers ahead.
Caution.
So, I didn't expect him to make contact with an alien life form at all,
Mhm.
let alone so quickly. And I didn't expect the alien to be adorable, almost,
Yeah.
and give me Gordon vibes from Elio.
yeah, he
where
does.
the character has no face, but somehow is expressive.
Yeah.
And maybe as somebody who falls for the Mandalorian taking care of Grogu trope, I just fell into that immediately,
Yeah.
and I was all for it,
Okay.
but I was all for it.
Yeah.
I loved Rocky, 10 out of 10, great design. It was like a little silly and schmaltzy,
Yeah.
but it didn't make me cry, but it got me. I believed the bond, I believed the friendship.
Right. Yeah, nobody knows what an alien looks like. Nobody knows what aliens could possibly be or not be. And so everybody's just taking a random stab at what they think an alien might look like. But for me, Rocky didn't really do it for me. I thought he was cute and he had some funny lines and stuff like that. And he was a good companion for the ride. But the lack of face makes it very hard to animate emotion. So I don't envy the animators who had to make Rocky emote, or at least come up with ideas or ways that he could emote.
But I feel like they did, and I can't describe it. I guess it was in the body language.
The body language and the vocal performance, that would be the only options you would have there.
Nice.
So, and the vocal performance happens. So, you know, I get how, I'm not saying he was emotionless, I'm just saying that I think a face would have done better at conveying those. But maybe that's an obvious statement. That's probably an obvious statement. So, anyway, yeah. I guess my biggest complaint with this movie is I found a lot of times me tilting my head and going, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense, or how does the rules of this universe work? Because, the history of the space movies like, The Martian and Interstellar and Gravity and all those kind of, they're reality adjacent, I guess is what I would say.
And you feel like this wasn't
and this was too
steeped
far.
in reality.
Yeah, it was too far out of reality. Like, one prime example I have is when Ryan's character makes contact with Rocky's ship for the first time, and they do this little like scoochy air thing. They scooch back and forth next to each other, whatever. The movements didn't feel real to me. It felt like a kid who's playing in space, like playing with a toy spaceship. Because like an old
movie where they use like models of things.
Right.
So you're like, oh, the plane is crashing into the building from
exactly.
like B-movie times.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's no weight to the spaceship. So like Ryan Gosling's ships does 3 short pulses forward, and on each of them it's like hard stops. And there's no weight. Like, this is a big ship, and we don't have super strong technology, so it shouldn't slow down that fast.
So I do think that scene in particular was filmed like that because the movie tried to infuse way more humor than I think most of these space movies do.
It is comedic for sure.
So at least Ryan's character is supposed to be comedic, so I saw that chase is very like, oh no, what do I do? Blue, bleep, blue.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a gag. This space movie takes itself less seriously than the other ones do, and that's okay. It's just not for me necessarily. And I have to be careful with my grounded in reality adjacent, because Interstellar has like time travel and 4th and 5th dimension things going on. And
right.
So, there is a little, like, I am being a slightly hypocritical when I say that, but this one the comedy was unexpected for a space movie for me, in my opinion.
I think it helped get me through at least the beginning.
Sure, it did.
Nothing is happening. And the biggest question for me, as far as like whether or not this makes sense, was I don't feel like the movie ever made it clear how Ryan figured out what was going on, because he wakes up from this coma.
Yeah.
And they don't explain how his other crew members die.
Right.
Which is believable. But you see him, he has like a huge beard. Obviously he's been in a coma for a while. He's writing questions on a blackboard saying, who am I and what am I? But there was never a clear him finding like the logs to explain. And then at some point in the movie, he just suddenly like knows exactly what they're looking for.
Right.
This entity that's killing the sun, this entity that could kill the thing that's killing the sun, and he has this deep understanding, and that's great. I thought, if he never figures out what's going on, this movie's going to be insufferable.
Right.
Because I don't know what's going on either.
Right, yeah.
So I don't want to watch a confused person talk to me.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like, he suffers.
I wish that there would have been a clear moment.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's partially through the way they decided to tell the story, which, again, I respect because it makes the story more interesting.
I liked the timeline switching. I thought that was...
Ryan's character has temporary...
that.
Yeah, Ryan's character has temporary amnesia, and as it wears off, we get flashbacks into his life leading up to him being inducted into the research project of Project Hail Mary.
Well, forced.
And then...
They drug him and drag him on the spaceship.
Yeah, I was getting to that part.
Wild.
Yeah, I was getting to that part, yes. But yeah, so he gets recruited into the program, and then he gets, forced into the program even further. So it was a cool way to tell the story, but yeah, there was no clear indication of like how he was figuring this stuff out. Yeah, other things that I wasn't a big fan of, or I guess not a big fan of, other things that I was kind of confused by was, how does Ryan's character figure out what Rocky is saying? Like, how does he have any confirmation where he goes, oh, say the word for 1, and then how does he know that Rocky's communicating the number 1 back to him? Like, the equivalence. There's a lot of language that was kind of just glossed over, essentially, for the sake of, so the movie could happen, basically.
I mean, I'm going to guess that I would hope the book explains it better. I'm sure for the sake of time, they had to gloss over. It's still a very long movie for a movie that, when it picks up, it really does pick up. So, again, I would be curious to read this book and see if they explain that better.
Yeah.
For me, maybe this is me being, again, the moviegoer, not the target demographic, but I was just thrilled there was communication, because watching him talk to himself for the next hour and a half was just not going to do it for me.
Going to do it for you, yeah, right.
But that's just me as a viewer.
Sure.
I will say something that I liked about Rocky. Again, I liked his design, and I also liked the cinematography where you saw his vision. Sometimes they would show what things looked like to him whenever he was looking at Ryan, and it looked like he was almost seeing primarily through like water, like he was detecting like hydrogen.
Yeah, he almost has like a ultrasonic vision, basically. Like, yeah, it was a cool way to show it for sure.
I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought things like that made it more grounded and less Disney.
Sure, yeah.
In the fact that there's a lot of like death and sacrifice throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That there's a big accident on the base that Ryan is working on Earth, and an entire like building blows up.
Yeah, right.
And that's why he's forced into the mission.
Right.
And this alien that he meets, his entire crew dies on their ship from basically like a radioactive radiation, like a radiation link. And I feel like the fact that there is deep sacrifice, that you can see that even at the end when everything works out and Ryan is able to send the necessary materials to save Earth to Earth, you can see that all of Earth is now a tundra.
Yes.
So clearly there has been sacrifice. I'm sure that people are dying, that they're in turmoil, that they are just chilling on the beach and everything works out fine,
right.
that the world is in peril. So his sacrifice did save the planet, and that makes the impact stronger for me.
Right. Another thing I wasn't sure of, I thought it was 11 point something light years to get out to the destination they were going to, and then when he and Rocky separate to go to their respective homes, it's only like 4 years for him to go back. That didn't make any sense to me either. I was having trouble calculating or comprehending the distances in this movie.
I mean,
did you catch that?
I mean, they did travel in space throughout this journey, so.
Yeah, well, they ended up at the planet where the thing that's killing stars is not killing stars, and then they separate from there, right? And so he says it's only 4 years back. I guess it's 10 years from Earth to this star, and then it's 4 years back. I don't know. It didn't make any sense to me.
Maybe it's Interstellar logic, because Interstellar did that too.
Yeah.
Where there were times where Matthew McConaughey's character was like, oh, a minute here is 50 on Earth. So there could have been a little bit of
the time dilation
logic.
makes sense in Interstellar more than it makes sense here. I don't know. Either way, it was just very confusing to me, I guess, a little bit. But I'll say the same thing that I said in the spoiler-free review, is that the music and the visuals carry this movie hard. I could listen to the music and watch the visuals on this movie over and over again. It's a fantastic movie.
Oh, and I do want to talk about the visual that completely won me over.
Please do, yeah.
And it's when they discover that star, when they discover Adrian. And the screen is lit up in all these beautiful purple colors, and it seems like the entire world is just shimmering, and it's this beautiful moment for Ryan's character after all of this confusion and fear and despair.
Right, yeah.
And again, this perfect score is just swelling at the right time, and that's the only time I've watched a space movie and thought, oh, I could see why somebody would try this.
Yeah,
Why they would risk being pulled apart into oblivion in a black hole.
Right, yeah, exactly. There's a couple of different times in this movie where I thought the movie could end or was going to end, and then it didn't. Like,
the end dragged a bit.
Yeah, I thought first off, I thought it was going to end with them saying goodbye to each other, and that was going to be like the sacrifice, basically, is they never get to see each other again. There's hope for the future or something like that. And then he comes back and saves them, and I'm like, oh, okay, the ending is he's going to send Rocky home, and he's going to sacrifice himself so that Rocky can go home safely, basically. And then it finally ends with Ryan teaching
basically staying on the
science
alien planet.
on Rocky's species planet, basically. Yeah. So what did you think about that ending?
I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
I thought it might have been stronger just to show Ryan and like Rocky walking off into the sunset.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a little corny.
Yeah.
With the classroom of alien
children. Yeah.
I also wondered, how is he going to figure out how to grow food? I'm assuming they don't eat the same things.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But I also didn't hate the idea of him choosing to stay longer in space with Rocky, because that was such a big part of the story. This is the first real relationship and friendship he's had, probably in a very long time.
Probably, yeah.
And as somebody who loves a good buddy comedy or a good movie just about friendship, I didn't hate that, but I do think that they could have ended it in a way that was a little bit less schmaltzy.
Yeah, I agree. You know me, I always like endings that have a little bit of sacrifice built into them. Not the happiest of endings, but maybe a happy-ish ending would be good for me. And this one felt a little too bow-tied. So.
Well, I think I'm gonna let you rank it first.
Okay. Yeah, I thought about this all the way back at the theater, and I think I'm gonna give it like a 7 out of 10. So, respectable, but not my favorite thing in the world.
I would give it an 8.
Okay.
I see the holes. I wish it didn't slog for that first hour, but It surprised me, made me feel something. I didn't get teary, but I did feel a little bit of emotion.
Yeah.
I did feel emotional when Ryan was like hugging a rock because he
Yeah.
was so happy that he wasn't dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really glad I saw this in theaters.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't make the top tier list of our movies that we
Sure.
rewatch a lot, I am glad that it was still in theaters. I want to say that theater was full and it's
It
been out
was.
for months.
Yeah.
So clearly,
It's doing well.
but clearly a lot of other people are liking this too. And who knows, this could be the gateway to other space movies that are, say, a little bit more serious and gritty and grounded in reality.
Reality adjacent.
Reality adjacent.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for sure.
but it was definitely overall a win for me, at least for a nice evening out.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, with that, I think we're going to wrap up our review right here. If you want something a little bit more fun-oriented, more children-oriented, we reviewed the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Be sure to check that one out on our channel.
And that was a super fun time.
A Super Mario super fun time. And
Pun not intended.
pun not intended. And just don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe before you guys head out. We really appreciate it. It helps our little growing channel. We see all you guys out there repeating comments, and we love to have you guys around for the long haul. So thanks, guys, very much.